Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Darling. I show you what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today. Friday, everybody get down. Friday, Rebecca Black, shout out something, pump up. I don't know where I'm going. It's just a word salad at this point, and it just makes no sense. And just throw out all of these random words as if they hold any sort of stringent meaning when I put them together. Hold on, let's check my definitions as well. Define. What the heck is this? Is that a bookmark? Get rid of that bookmark. I don't know what that is. Define stringent. Strict, precise, and exacting. Okay, that's, yeah, kind of what I meant. Hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, 6:05 PM on Friday, February 2nd, 2024. I feel like I should be more conscious about words which I don't know necessarily the definition of. Oh, it's not that I don't know. It's more like I thought I knew, but then it turns out I didn't. From doing that little like quizzy thing. No, it wasn't yesterday. It was the day before yesterday, wasn't it? I sort of became more aware of the fact that a lot of words I thought I knew, but only because I knew a word which sounded similar, and for whatever reason in my brain I'm like, this must mean the same thing, despite the fact that's not really how words work. It's like maybe they have the same root or something, where it doesn't necessarily mean they have the same meaning. English itself is quite a smorgasbord of different languages in the first place as origins, so you know, I'm not sure it's going to be the easiest thing potentially to find the root of something. Anyway, yeah, I don't really know what I was going to say. I'm not really sure what there is to talk about at this sort of point. I'm just trying to think conversationally, what's going on, what have I got going on. Some of my friends have messaged me on Discord. I should probably respond to them. Let's see. So this weekend is a weekend, the mild deadline I sort of set for myself to be like, this is when I should start sending out invitations, I suppose, for my D&D campaign. Not to you, unfortunately, like, dear viewer, unless you are one of my friends, in which case you kind of already know that, probably. So there's still work to do. As I often say, to quote that song from Oliver and Company, I don't actually know which. I've not actually seen that movie, but for some reason I know the song, which seems to go that way for many different things, unsurprisingly. No, I didn't want to visit someone's island, but girl, we got work to do. I forgot what I was saying then. I had a train of thought and just like immediately gone from my, oh yes. So, you know, it should theoretically be starting. I felt like I should give myself a sort of like pseudo deadline thing in the first place, because if I don't, then I'm not going to get it done. Well, that's not really true, but like, the way I work is I do get things done. Let's not say I don't get things done. It's not like I always need a strict deadline, but if I don't give myself a strict deadline for something like this, then I am going to prioritize things with a strict deadline. I mean, I feel like, I was going to say I feel like that's the way everyone's brains sort of work, but, you know, that's inherently not true, I don't think. You know, I should not try and impose my own assumptions about, you know, my way of living onto other people's. That's not what I mean to say. What I suppose perhaps a more accurate way of putting it is I can only really draw upon my own from my own conclusions. Why do we have no bells? What happened to all our bells? But for me personally, like, I will get things done sort of passively as I do things, but if I don't have a strict deadline for doing something, everything which does have a strict deadline or has a theoretical strict deadline ends up taking priority, which is like, I mean, it's good in certain senses, but it's not good in the sense that not everything I give like a strict deadline should have a strict deadline, theoretically. You know, I mean, for one example, this YouTube channel, does it matter that I get an Animal Crossing episode out every single day? No, of course not, it doesn't. I'm just kind of doing it for my own fun of it, I suppose, if anything. There's not a strict deadline on getting an Animal Crossing episode out every single day, but I do it for myself because I'm like, I'll make sure I get it done, I suppose, if I have a theoretical deadline in that sense. But it comes at the cost of other things, you know, like with D&D planning. Even now, like, I haven't done as much planning as I would particularly like to be perfectly honest, but that just is how it goes. If I didn't put like a deadline, if I didn't like say to our friend, hey, yeah, okay, let's do it in the new year, something like that, then it wouldn't have happened probably for like ages, because again, I would just be prioritizing other things over and over and over again. I mean, it's one of the reasons I kind of stopped doing commissions for now, is because like now there's too many things I need to prioritize, and I'm like, I couldn't keep up with them properly. So yeah, I mean, I have basic ideas. Like, at the very least, I suppose part of me needs to accept the concept of a lot of it needs to be improvised in the first place. While I'm very much someone who likes to prepare, I like to prepare, I like to have solid things ever ready, etc., etc. At the end of the day, it's not something which needs to happen. I think, part of me needs to accept the fact that, like, all my friends would probably be just having a wild time anyway, even if it was just completely improv, even if it didn't make coherent sense. Maybe not, I don't know. At the very least, I can have a fun time with that in the first place. But I have a tendency to want to prepare for these sort of things and to think of caveat situations so I can, like, tackle them in advance. Why, to me, I don't know. It's just, I suppose, by way my nature, isn't it? But I think that's an impossible task to do for D&D. Well, it's not an impossible task to do for D&D, but it's definitely more effort than I'd be willing to spend for something like that. I'm not saying I'm not willing to put in effort for D&D or this. I'm just saying, like, broad strokes applying to anything now. But I think I've got to be reasonable with myself and understand that I am willing to put different amount of efforts into different things disproportionately. Some things might not even make sense. Like, I'm probably more willing than the average person to put more effort into the games I play, I suppose, than necessarily something like doing exercise. Is that good? No, but honestly, if you asked anyone, I think most people would be like, yeah, it's probably better that you'd switch the amount of effort you put into both. So you put all the effort you put into your games into, like, exercise, and then the effort you put into exercise into games or something like that. I think most people would probably agree that's probably better for healthy living. But you got to be realistic with yourself. That's not who I am, I suppose. The fault there isn't that I should swap around those two efforts, as it is so much so that maybe one could lower a little bit, one could go up a little bit. But also, if it is good, I think this is what I'm getting at, you got to know yourself, you got to understand, and you got to be real with yourself, that sort of thing. Like, I think maybe this sort of time analogy is getting a bit lost on me here, but perhaps the best way to put it is, like, to do with financial budgeting, for example. I know people don't really like to talk about it, and that's totally fair. I'm not exactly, like, amazing at budgeting. I think I'm fine, is probably what I'd say. I have a decent, like, financial awareness, but obviously there's still a lot for me to learn, to be perfectly honest. I'm not, like, an economist or something like that. But when people budget things, I feel like people tend to be too overly strict on themselves, the concept being like, I need to save money, thus I need to cut out all costs of my life, or all unnecessary costs of my life, which is just completely unreasonable. I think the example that, like, I would use would be for, like, eating out and having a meal or something like that. Is it cheaper to buy all your food en masse, like, cook it en masse, and then, like, preserve it and eat the same meal over and over again, probably? And the foods you eat as well, like, is it probably a lot cheaper just to eat, like, a load of carrots and potatoes or something for the rest of your life? Yes, absolutely. Those are very cost-efficient foods. Cost efficiency is royalty when it comes to saving money, I suppose, right? But you've got to be realistic with yourself, Are you the type of person who can live off potatoes and rice, I suppose, for the rest of your life? And the honest answer is, for most people, I think, is probably not. I think most people will be like, no, I can't do that. Like, that's unrealistic. No one could do anything like that. But for some people, that might actually be like a genuine, I probably could do something like that. So I will. Which, fair enough, more power to you, I suppose. But I think an average person is much more realistic to be like, no, I need some more variety. And, like, this is such an extreme example, I suppose. But, like, obviously some people would should eat more food than just potatoes and rice, or, like, really cost efficient, like, discount carrots. And I'm trying to think, well, I don't know what the cheapest vegetable is per pound, but so, what, insert it here. But, like, let's take that to a less extreme example. Like, let's say you have a balanced diet of meats and something, or, like, home cooked every single day, something like that. You got to be realistic with yourself. Is it cheaper probably to home cook your meals every single day? Yes. But are you the type of person who wants to go out and have, like, a nice meal now and then? Are you the type of person who wants to, stop by KFC, pick up, like, a mighty bucket for one or something, it's not sponsored, by the way, and be like, yeah, this is going to be, like, my meal for today? Are you that type of person? And you've got to be realistic and be like, yes, I am that type of person. There's no benefit, really, to being like, no, I'm not, when you are. Don't lie to yourself, I suppose, is basically what I'm trying to get at here. But put that into your budget because it's reasonable, Like, it's not something excessive. It's not like you're going into KFC and being like, I'm going to spend £200 or something. Which, if you are, then, oh my god, what? How? But, like, for every now and then having, like, a sort of meal, like, make account of that. Make room for your own human imperfections. And I sort of like hesitate to even call them imperfections. It's like, it's not an imperfection to like want unhealthy or more a cost inefficient meal every now and then, is it? Like, life is for living in the first place, isn't it? So you got to budget you got to budget for your life, right? Life is not for surviving as it is much for living. I know that's especially because there's like financial crises and cost of living crises and a much more negative view, I suppose, on the outlook of the world, especially with a younger generation nowadays, which I assume is probably the majority of my target audience. That's, I'm not going to say controversial thing to say, but it feels a bit tone deaf, doesn't it? It's not always like you have that luxury, but I suppose that this isn't necessarily that sort of debate. I'm not trying to debate saying whether you have a choice or not or something, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is be realistic with yourself, you know? Allow yourself some comforts. That's basically what I'm trying to say. So how did I get on this topic of conversation? I don't even know, but allow yourself some comforts. So for me personally, is I don't even know how I made this leap from my conversation to that conversation anymore. Allow myself some comforts. Why am I here? Everything is so on autopilot now, but I have no idea what's going on. Okay, I need to plant a tree, group exercise, let's take a picture. Okay, can do. We can do these things. That's not how you take a picture. What am I doing? Am I okay? Yeah, but basically give yourself some allowance for life. Give yourself a life allowance. And I don't mean like in a give yourself like a financial life allowance. I mean maybe I don't know. That's kind of up to you, to be honest. But be kind to yourself is basically what I'm trying to say, right? How did this at all relate to the topic I was talking about? Wasn't I talking about like planning D&D? Something about giving hard deadlines to myself. It probably stemmed from like being kind to yourself in that regard. Being like, oh yeah, you got to be. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I got to be reasonable with myself with how I like set these deadlines and that sort of thing. I got to understand that not everything has got to be like perfection. Well, it's not that I say perfection. I feel like I certainly have outgrown the idea that I need to be perfect. You know, that's certainly the perfectionist to me was much more prevalent, I think, when I was a teen to. I mean, I guess I still am a younger adult. Maybe just stick with teen, right? And nowadays, while I'm sure I still feel effects of that. Let's not completely kid myself and be like, oh, you know, I've just completely dropped all the baggage, I suppose, which comes without necessarily at the drop of a hat. Be realistic with yourself. I know my flaws, I know my shortcomings, and I think being aware of them is one of the more important steps, I think, to being able to overcome them, right, in the first place. And no one's really expecting this sort of like change to happen overnight, you know, especially not myself. I mean, I'm telling you this, but like, I guess it's something I do internally know already. So if anything, it is kind of like a teaching I'm trying to say. But I hope it doesn't come off as particularly preachy or anything. But I feel like half of these conversations I have, which tend to be like about the way of living life, I don't wonder if it comes off as overly preachy. I don't intend it, and I hope you understand that. I don't intend it to have that sort of preachy tone to it, as much as it's sort of like a parting of my own life advice. And obviously, you know, I've still got like, well, hopefully, I've still got like a decent amount of my life left to live. So, you know, we'll just have to see what happens from that, you know? I forgot where I was going with this. I actually just generally have no idea why I was trying to like conversationally go with this. Anyway, allow imperfection. Allow for your own imperfections. So when I say I've got this D&D session thing happening, you know, is it actually going to be happening this weekend? No, it's not going to be happening this weekend. As I said to myself, this is when I'm going to start publicly inviting people. So really what needs to happen is I need all the public-facing things to be up and ready so that this weekend I can like send a message in my inner Discord circle server and be like, hey, this sort of stuff, it's all ready. You know, if you're interested in that sort of thing, send me a message, etc., etc. I don't know if many other people are actually going to join, to be perfectly honest, outside of the people I already have. Because the people I already have are people I've spoken to who are like, yeah, I'm highly interested in this. Other people, I think I'll tend to probably run the gamut of being like, oh yeah, I'm like mildly interested. Or like a maybe. Or like I've got no idea if I'm interested or not. Which is fair enough, you know, I'm not expecting people to really know the answer to that. But I think giving them the option is the important part, right? Being like, hey, this is a thing which you can do, and if you ever change your mind, let me know, sort of thing, right? I guess that's kind of what I'm going at. So yeah, are people expecting any more from that this weekend? I don't think so. But it's sort of, I want to like light that spark to be like, all right, let's get started with getting like some dates down on board. Let's go understand people's availabilities, you know, because most conversations have been done, I suppose, planning wise for characters on their end. Most people kind of know what they want, and if they don't know what they want, they're definitely the type of, I would say they're going to be the type of people who will just, that's not the most necessarily important part to them, or they'll decide like within a few days or something. That's the thing. So it's sort of like, while currently we're like in a closed alpha, now we're going into the beta, basically. We're not going into the full like release yet. Maybe a better analogy is like we're in the beta. My closed alpha was before I invited anyone, and then it was like the beta, you know, where I've invited the people who were interested, and now we're going into early access for my own D&D session. I don't know what this analogy is. I also don't have like anything else conversationally to say, I feel like, to add on to this. I don't know. I feel like allow imperfection is a bit too of a loaded term for today's episode, but maybe that's what I'll call it. Anyway, I'm going to round this episode off here, and we'll sort of see how things go. So, if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope you see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now. I got to record some Akami as well.